When we talk about comfort, most people think of convenience, stability, and peace. But what we never acknowledge is that comfort has a shadow side, a quiet, seductive trap that slowly weakens your hunger for the life you're meant to build. Nobody warns you that comfort doesn't destroy you dramatically, it destroys you gently. It makes you satisfied with almost, with good enough, with maybe later. And what's so dangerous about comfort is that it tells you a lie, that you have time to start, time to grow, time to change, but the truth is you don't. Every day you spend inside the familiar, you are silently drifting away from the person you could have become. Think about it, human beings weren't built to stay still. Growth is part of our spiritual DNA, yet comfort convinces you that stillness is safety. And that's where life becomes complicated. Because while comfort is soothing, it also paralyzes. It keeps you in the same conversations, the same habits, the same fears. It convinces you that risk is dangerous and that dreaming too big is unrealistic. The irony is that the life you want is always hiding behind the discomfort you're avoiding. Your next chapter, the one filled with purpose, alignment, and abundance, never appears in the middle of your comfort zone. It appears on the edge of uncertainty, where you feel nervous, stretched, a little unprepared. That's where transformation lives. And let's be honest, comfort feels good because it removes pressure, it removes effort, it removes exposure. You don't have to confront your insecurities or your limitations when you stay comfortable. You don't have to admit you need help. You don't have to challenge the image you've built of yourself. Comfort shields you from failure, but it also shields you from becoming. It's like sitting in a warm room with the windows closed, safe, familiar, predictable. Meanwhile, life is happening outside. Opportunities are moving, seasons are shifting, and little by little you stop noticing. You stop trying. You stop imagining what else is possible for you. Psychologically, comfort creates what researchers call learned stagnation. You train your mind to associate effort with danger and routine with safety. You start believing your own excuses. You start shrinking your dreams so your fears can stay relaxed. And this is the brutal part. Most people don't even realize they've settled. They confuse stability with fulfillment. They confuse repetition with purpose. And by the time they wake up, years have passed. But here's the truth that nobody teaches you. Comfort isn't the enemy. The enemy is staying there. Comfort has a role. It's a place to rest, not a place to live. It's the space where you recharge, not the space where you build your destiny. When you learn to step out of comfort with intention, everything begins to shift. You reconnect with courage. You rediscover curiosity. You meet a version of yourself you didn't even know existed. Because the life you dream about doesn't require perfection. It requires motion. It requires willingness. It requires the courage to be uncomfortable long enough for your transformation to take root. So if there's one lesson comfort teaches you, it's this: your future is shaped not by what feels good, but by what stretches you. And the moment you choose growth over comfort, your entire life begins to expand. One of the most difficult lessons life teaches, usually through disappointment rather than instruction, is that people don't owe you anything. Not their time, not their understanding, not their loyalty, not their support. And that truth can feel harsh, even cold, when you first confront it. Because we grow up imagining that goodness guarantees reciprocity, that love ensures respect, that effort earns appreciation. But adulthood reveals a different reality. People show up for you based on their capacity, not your expectations. They love according to their emotional history, not your needs. They support according to who they are, not who you are. And the moment you stop expecting the world to arrange itself around your hopes, something incredible happens. You become free. There is a quiet kind of suffering that comes from waiting for others to understand you, validate you, or rescue you. And it often shows up long before we realize we're doing it. We wait for someone to notice our struggles. We wait for an apology that never comes. We wait for recognition that doesn't arrive. We wait for someone to choose us in the way we have chosen them. And when they don't, we call it betrayal or injustice or heartbreak. But the deeper truth is that people are simply living their lives from the center of their own experience, just as we are living from ours. Psychologically, this realization is a turning point, because once you release the expectation that others should behave a certain way, you reclaim all the energy you were losing to resentment and disappointment. You stop carrying emotional debt from people who never signed a contract with you. You stop keeping score in a game no one else is playing. Instead, you begin to make choices from a place of self-trust rather than emotional dependency. You learn to stand without leaning. You learn that boundaries are not walls, they're instructions. And you learn that your peace is your responsibility, not anyone else's assignment. Philosophically, this truth aligns with one of the deepest spiritual lessons. Freedom begins when attachment ends. Not the attachment of love, but the attachment of expectation. Expecting others to act according to your script is a recipe for ongoing disappointment. Allowing people to be who they are, even if who they are doesn't serve you, is a profound act of emotional maturity. It allows you to move without bitterness. It allows you to give without keeping score. It allows you to walk away without hatred. And in that space, something shifts inside you. I am responsible for my growth, my healing, my direction, my joy. This doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you stop tying your sense of worth to how they love you back. It doesn't mean you stop helping others. It means you stop expecting your generosity to return in the same shape you offered it. It doesn't mean you become detached or cold. It means you become grounded, self-anchored, whole, because when you finally accept that nobody owes you anything, you stop waiting and start living. You stop chasing and start choosing. And most importantly, you stop expecting others to carry a weight that was always meant to make you stronger. Freedom begins the moment you take back the responsibility for your own life and stop placing it in the hands of people who were never meant to hold it. One of the most surprising truths about life is that it's not failure that harms us the most. It's hesitation. It's the pause we take before answering the call of our own potential. It's the moment we second-guess ourselves, convincing our art to wait while our future quietly moves on without us. Nobody teaches you this growing up. You learn it through missed opportunities, through the heaviness of regret, through the quiet moments when you realize the door you wanted so badly to walk through is no longer there. We think wrong decisions ruin us, but more often, it's the decisions we never make that shape the direction of our lives. Indecision isn't neutral. It has consequences. It drains energy, magnifies fear, and creates a psychological environment where doubts grow stronger than dreams. When you hesitate, your mind doesn't stay still. It fills the silence with fear-based stories, and those stories sound so convincing. What if you're not ready? What if it doesn't work? What if you fail publicly? But rarely do we ask the opposite. What if this is the moment that changes everything? What if it works? What if your future is waiting for you to say yes? The mind is wired to protect you, not to elevate you. And sometimes what feels like protection is actually self-sabotage dressed in caution. Philosophically, indecision is a form of self-abandonment. You turn away from your own instinct, your own wisdom, your own nudge toward the next chapter. You tell yourself that waiting will make things clearer, but clarity doesn't come from sitting still. Clarity comes from movement. It comes from choosing, acting, adjusting, learning. You can't think your way into your highest self. You have to walk into it step by step, imperfectly and honestly. And here's the deeper truth. Life itself is fluid. Opportunities move, connections shift, timing evolves. While you're overthinking, life is progressing, doors open, but they also close. And sometimes the only difference between someone who transforms their life and someone who stays stuck is that one person decided before they felt ready. They understood that readiness is not a prerequisite, it's a result. Indecision often wears the mask of being careful, but if you look closely, it's usually fear. Fear of being judged, fear of disappointing others, fear of losing what you have, fear of stepping into something unfamiliar. Yet the irony is that wrong decisions can almost always be corrected. You can learn from them, pivot, evolve. But indecision offers no lessons, no growth, no transformation. It gives you nothing except the illusion of safety and the reality of stagnation. When you choose, you reclaim your power. Even if the choice isn't perfect, even if it leads you somewhere unexpected, you grow because you acted. And every act of courage strengthens your inner foundation. It sends a message to your future: I'm moving, I'm willing, I'm ready enough. So if there is one thing you must remember, let it be this: life rewards direction, not delay. Make the choice. Take the step. Trust that progress, even imperfect progress, will always take you further than hesitation ever will. There comes a moment in adulthood when you realize that people are responding not just to who you are, but to what you allow. It's a difficult truth to accept because it forces you to confront your own role in the patterns you keep experiencing. But this lesson is one of the most transformative. You are constantly teaching people how to treat you, not through lectures, not through demands, but through your silence, your boundaries, your reactions, your tolerance, and the standards you set for yourself. Every interaction becomes a kind of classroom, and whether you realize it or not, you are the teacher. Most of us don't grow up learning this. We're told to be kind, to be patient, to avoid conflict, to keep the peace, and those teachings often come from a good place. But somewhere along the way, we internalize the idea that preserving harmony is more important than preserving dignity. So we stay quiet when something hurts us. We laugh off disrespect. We explain away bad behavior. We give chance after chance to people who have shown us exactly who they are. And then we wonder why our hearts feel heavy, why our relationships feel unbalanced, why our spirit feels drained. Psychologically, the human mind adapts to what it experiences repeatedly. If you accept being dismissed, ignored, or undervalued, the people around you begin to believe that this is the correct way to engage with you. Not because they're cruel, but because you haven't presented a different standard. You haven't said, this is not acceptable, or this is not how I want to be spoken to, or my needs matter here too. Silence becomes permission. And permission becomes a pattern. Philosophically, this truth holds even deeper weight. Every time you choose peace over self-respect, you create an internal conflict. You fracture yourself. On the outside, you look calm. On the inside, resentment grows. And resentment is not born from what people do to you. It's born from what you let continue long after you knew better. But the moment you decide to honor your worth, something shifts. Your voice gets clearer. Your boundaries get stronger. Your energy starts to attract different types of people. Those who understand reciprocity, respect, and accountability. And here's the thing, setting boundaries is not an act of aggression. It's an act of clarity. It's you saying, this is who I am and this is what I stand for. You don't need anger. You don't need drama. You just need consistency. When your actions reflect your standards, people adjust. They rise to meet the version of you that respects yourself enough to speak up. And if they don't rise, then their absence becomes a blessing, not a loss. So remember this, your life begins to change the moment you start honoring yourself, because when you treat yourself with respect, the world learns to follow your lead. One of the most startling realizations you come to in life is that your mind, this voice you trust, this narrator you believe, this companion that has been with you since childhood, is not always telling you the truth. The mind is powerful, but it is also deeply conditioned. It carries old fears, old wounds, old interpretations, and it repeats them so convincingly that you mistake them for facts. Nobody teaches you that your thoughts can lie to you. Nobody tells you that the greatest battles you will ever fight won't be against other people, but against the stories you tell yourself in the quiet corners of your mind. We grow up assuming that thinking equals truth, but psychologically the mind is wired for survival, not happiness. It exaggerates danger to protect you. It underestimates your abilities so you don't take risks. It reminds you of every painful memory so you won't repeat it. And while this instinct may have been helpful in childhood or in moments of trauma, it becomes a prison when you start believing every anxious whisper as reality. You begin to shrink your life to fit your fears. You begin to see the world not as it is, but as your fear-colored mind presents it. Philosophically, thinkers across generations have explored this idea, the separation between truth and perception. But in practical daily life, the separation feels almost invisible. When your mind says you're not ready, you pause. When it says people will judge you, you hold back. When it says you always fail, you hesitate before trying again. A single thought can redirect the entire course of your day, your decisions, your relationships, even your destiny. And yet, that thought might not be accurate at all. It could be a memory, a fear, a leftover belief from a version of you that no longer exists. The real turning point comes when you learn to question your mind instead of obeying it. When you pause and ask, is this truth or fear? Is this intuition or insecurity? Is this my wisdom speaking or my wound? That moment of questioning is where transformation begins. It opens a doorway to a different kind of freedom, the freedom to choose your response rather than surrender to your reflex, and slowly begin to realize that the mind is not your enemy. It's a tool that must be trained, guided, reoriented toward truth rather than fear. This is the work of emotional maturity, teaching your mind to support your growth, not sabotage it. Some people call it mindfulness. Others call it spiritual alignment. But at its core, it is the practice of taking back authorship of your inner narrative, because the world will challenge you, yes, but rarely as intensely as your own thoughts will. And the life you desire won't be built by a mind that's rooted in old limitations. It will be built by a mind that you have consciously shaped, one that knows how to distinguish between danger and discomfort, between instinct and insecurity, between possibility and fear. So remember, your mind is powerful, but you are the one who directs it. And the moment you stop believing every fearful thought and start choosing thoughts that align with the life you want, you unlock a level of freedom that changes everything. One of the quietest tragedies in life is how often people walk away from their dreams, not because the dream was impossible, but because the journey was longer, slower, and more uncomfortable than they. The truth is, you teach people how to treat you every day. Through what you accept, what you celebrate, what you challenge, and what you walk away from. And when you finally choose to stand in your worth instead of shrinking for comfort or approval, your entire world rearranges itself around that decision. Expected. We live in a world that glorifies quick breakthroughs and overnight success stories, but rarely shows the years of invisible work behind them. The truth, the brutal truth that few ever speak about, is that most people don't fail. They quit too early. They step away right before things begin to shift. They let go when the discomfort peaks, not realizing that discomfort is often the final sign that growth is happening beneath the surface. Every meaningful pursuit has a point where progress becomes invisible. You put in effort, you give your time, your energy, your heart, and nothing seems to change. You feel stuck in the same place. And that's the moment where most people begin to doubt everything. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe it's time to stop trying. But psychologically, this phase is normal. It's a natural part of the process. It's what researchers call the plateau, the period where your brain, your skills, your identity are reorganizing themselves for the next level. It looks like stagnation, but it's actually silent integration. The problem is that no one teaches us this. Instead, we grow up believing that success should feel exciting, consistent, linear, but growth is messy, progress is uneven, and there will be long stretches where the only evidence of transformation is the fact that you haven't quit yet. Those who achieve extraordinary things aren't always the most talented or the most gifted. They are the ones who kept going long after the excitement faded, long after the applause stopped, long after the initial spark dimmed. They stayed when it was boring. They stayed when it was painful. They stayed when they were tired. They stayed until the breakthrough showed up. Philosophically, this lesson is profound. Life rewards endurance, not blind endurance, but purposeful endurance, the kind that says, I may not see results yet, but I know seeds don't sprout the moment they're planted. Most of the growth happens underground, in silence, where no one can see. And quitting doesn't just stop the pain, it also stops the possibility. Imagine how many lives remain unchanged because someone walked away 1 week too early, one conversation too early, one attempt too early. Imagine how many destinies dissolved because the discomfort convinced the person that nothing was happening, when in reality everything was happening. This is why grit matters. Not the loud, dramatic kind, the quiet, steady, deeply spiritual kind, the kind that reminds you to keep showing up even when the results are invisible, even when doubt whispers louder than hope, even when your progress feels too slow to measure. Because at some point, something shifts. A door opens, a connection forms, a skill clicks, a moment arrives that makes every previous struggle meaningful. So here's the truth to carry with you. Your dream doesn't require perfection, it requires persistence. Stay long enough for your breakthrough to find you.